Greetings and salutations, everybody. Now, a few things I need to get out before a few things I need to say before I start this video. Number one, if it sounds like I'm trying to talk really fast, that's because I kind of am. Because I've recorded this video twice, and they both went really long, and I kind of don't like my videos going too long. I don't like them going 50 plus minutes. I think there's really no need for that. So I know it's like, well, you're taking up time doing that now. Well, whatever. I thought I'd quickly just get that out of the way. Number two, I want to give two shout-outs to two channels real quick, okay? Two guys who have been very supportive of me and my videos over the past year or so. The link to their channels will be in the description below. I suggest you check them out. Channel number one, Lord of Darkness. This guy has been a big supporter of mine for a while. I want to say thank you to him, and I want to, tell you to go check out his channel. He's been talking about pro wrestling a lot less recently. He tends to talk about, like, comic books and video games, sometimes about movies also in his videos. But I highly suggest you check him out. He's one of the only few guys in the YWC who actually has, like, a channel and knows what he's talking about. Isn't just some guy who leaves a comment, who has, like, an actual channel, if you know what I mean. The other guy, very much the same thing, same type of channel. That doesn't mean you shouldn't watch him, though. But, similar type of channel. Red Wolf 316, another guy who's been very supportive of mine over the past few months, year or so. I just want to say thank you to both of you guys. Thank you for the support. And, the links to their channels are in the description below. Check them out, because if you gotta watch a channel in the YWC who actually does know what the hell they're talking about, doesn't feed into all this doesn't eat up all this smarky bullshit, like the fucking Deluxe Mags and the JDs from NY206s, by all means, check out Lord of Darkness and Red Wolf 316, since, fucking, for all you know, this could be the last year of Schleg Daddy from OTRS. The Smart Busters have basically given up, and PS Power has been gone. I assume we're only going to get a WrestleMania review from him this year, and then that'll probably be it. Anyway, now to what the actual video is about. Now to finally get on with the video. Hopefully I fixed the lighting a bit. Whatever. Now to finally get on to what this video is really about. And, I know I've kind of said this before, but this is a bit of a big one. This could be the most important video I make on this channel, at least in terms of pro wrestling related videos. Now, you could say that that's the video I made on, like, why hardcore wrestling fans suck and the bullshit treatment they give to casual fans. Or it could be my 4 videos on why the YWC/IWC sucks. It could be those. But this is one that it has to be said. And I can't believe that in 2018, actually, scratch that, in 2017, I've had this video planned for months. I've had this video planned before I even did my Benoit video, okay? Things got in the way, life, a lot of personal issues in life, work, school. Basically, video making was not priority number one. So I've had this video planned for that long, and I've got to do this one. So what is this video about? If you can't tell by the that's right, the titles are down there. If you can't tell by the title of the video, for some reason, this video is about how professional wrestling here, and pay attention, all of you, especially you dumb smarks who I know are going to watch this video, even though you already know you're not going to like, you already know you don't like me, you already know you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but you're still going to stalk me on my videos and comment and try to engage in stupid flame war arguments with me. Listen closely, you dumb, retarded, new age fanboy smarks. Professional wrestling is not about wrestling. I will repeat that. Professional wrestling is not about wrestling. And another thing this video is primarily about, I just didn't put it in the title because that would be a ridiculously long title then, is that professional wrestling is not a sport! I can't believe that in this age of so-called smart fans, some schmuck like me has to tell everyone, has to tell a bunch of people, that professional wrestling is not actually about wrestling. It'd be one thing if I was talking to non-wrestling fans. But no, I'm talking to so-called hardcore wrestling fans. I gotta tell these fucking crybaby faggots that professional wrestling is not about wrestling. And it's not a sport. It's not a real sport. Because guess what? You stupid fans, stupid so-called fans. You want to know why professional wrestling is not about wrestling? You want to know why it's not a sport? Because it's fake. It's fake. It's not real. And even if you want to use your stupid arguments of like, oh, it's not that it's not real and it's fake. It's scripted. It's predetermined. Same shit. Still proves my point. It makes you look like an idiot. Fake. Not real. Scripted. Fixed. Predetermined. Doesn't change the fact that something a sport, an actual sport, cannot actually be these things. If it was an actual sport, then it actually would be about wrestling. Okay? Football is actually about the game itself. Because it's real. So is baseball. So is basketball. So is soccer. Okay? And, you know, so is... And this is where I think a lot of fans, I can't believe, somehow get this mixed up. Actual wrestling, you know, the grappling shit... Amateur and Olympic style wrestling, that's a sport too. I guess, but whatever, for the sake of this video. That's a sport. Because that is real. That is actually about wrestling. Professional wrestling is not real. They're intentionally, not only are the, I can't believe, I've got to spell this out. Not only are the outcomes already decided, but they were intentionally putting on a choreographed show and intentionally trying their best to not actually hurt themselves. Yes, there is a risk, and they do have to do some things. Have to actually be hit at certain points. Have to be slammed against something at certain points. Yes. But here's the thing. And by the way, nothing I'm saying in this video is, or in any way should be taken as offensive or as an insult to the professional wrestling business and to just any professional wrestler in general. Okay? They're intentionally trying to put on this fake fake fight that they're trying their best to make look real, and they're intentionally trying to do things to minimize the risk, the injury. So by all accounts, these guys are not athletes. That's not an insult. These guys are not athletes. That's not an insult, though. They're more like glorified stuntmen. They're like stuntmen who have to have more of a range in acting, which is really impressive and does take a lot of talent. But that doesn't mean that they're athletes. That doesn't mean that it's a sport. And that doesn't mean it's actually about wrestling. I can't believe I have to spell this out. But here's what professional wrestling is about. It's about stories and characters. The matches are the primary way you tell a story. But you have all these other ways of telling the story. Things like promos, segments, fights that are not, the matches. That's what professional wrestling is. It has less to do with an actual sport, and it's more like a stage play. It's like a coked out Broadway musical. It's like a Broadway play, but with just more stunts and yes, athletics. But that doesn't mean that that's what matters most in professional wrestling. Because you don't have a compelling story or character, then compelling story or characters, if you don't give a reason for people to give a damn about a fight that is not real, thereby fake, why would you care? It doesn't matter how many flips, kicks, high spots, how fast-paced their matches are. Why would you care? If there's not a story, or actually, it's not so much that there's not a story, if there's not a reason to care. Basically, if the feud and match does not have a purpose. Because yes, technically not every match can have a story, like a jobber match, but it still has a purpose. It's there to make the guy that actually matters look good. So a match technically has to be a purpose. It's got to have a story, or it's got to be building to a story. It's got to be building a story or a character. But it's not about actual wrestling. It's not about the fights themselves. It's about telling a story by pretending to have a fight or wrestling match or whatever. That's professional wrestling. Okay? And I get so sick of stupid, retarded, smarky fans, either on other comment sections or ones that stalked me in my own comment sections, trying to tell me that, giving me bullshit excuses like, oh, well, that's just, you're just thinking of the WWE, or you're just thinking of American pro wrestling. Oh, it's like different in Japan, and I'll get on that later. But it's like, no, that is professional wrestling, because it doesn't make any sense to focus more on the actual fights and stuff if you don't have a reason to care. What makes it good, what makes a wrestling feud and match and show good is the stories and characters. Okay? Having a great in-ring worked match is just like the cherry on top, the whipped cream on the ice cream. It's extra. It's there. Yes, it makes a match better, sure, but it doesn't make a match good at all if you don't have a good story or characters, or don't have stories or characters at all. I get told so many times by stupid fans who don't get it, who I can only assume to think that professional wrestling is real because they're dumb idiots who try to tell me that it's like, well, WWE just tells stories with backstage segments and promos. Things like the Japanese wrestling, they do tell stories in the ring. What the fuck do you think the point of a wrestling match is in professional wrestling? WWE does that too. Okay, I guess I should say when they were good. They don't do it anymore because there are no stories and characters in WWE right now. But when they were good, that's what they did. That's what all professional wrestling organizations did. Or do. Or is supposed to do. Because like no professional wrestling company does that anymore. Because too many companies focus too much on the in-ring aspect and not enough on storylines and characters. But that is the point of a wrestling match in professional wrestling. To be the main crux of the story. Okay? It's not to be an actual wrestling match. It's meant to tell a story. You know what it's like? Although the stage play, Broadway play example is a lot better, think of professional wrestling like a movie, specifically like an action movie. The fights in the ring, those are the action scenes. But think about an action movie, you know, still being a movie, you've got to give a reason for you to care about the stories and the characters. Because without that, why do you give a shit about an action scene? No matter how good it's shot, or how good the stunts are, or the special effects, if you don't have a reason to care, it's only entertaining for a few minutes, and then you just forget about it. Then it just blends in with any other action scene. But then if you got an action movie where you got characters and stories, a reason to care about what's going on, then you're invested. Okay? It's like, take a 20-minute match and compare it to a 10-minute match. The 20-minute match is full of nothing but high spots, and it's moving super fast, but there's no story. The two performers don't have any personalities, no charisma. They're just doing a bunch of flips and kicks and a bunch of high spots. But then you got you got the 10-minute match that has build-up, characters, a story told throughout the match. So it makes then when they do a high spot feel better, feel more important. You remember it more. It's the same thing as like action movies. You can have a 20-minute action scene of just people running around, shooting, blowing shit up, screaming, and nothing but a bunch of stunts and special effects. Or you can have a 10-minute action scene that, sure, may not visually look as impressive, but you care more. It's like, I literally compare, in one of my Why the YWC/IWC Sucks videos, compared it perfectly. I'll do it again in case no one watching this video has seen those. Compared it perfectly to like the lightsaber fights in the Star Wars movies. All these stupid AJ Styles, Nakamura, Kenny Omega, Okada matches are like, they're like the lightsaber fights in the prequel Star Wars movies. They're really choreographed and flashy, and they're doing jumps, and they're doing level 10 force powers. But you don't care because the characters suck. The story around them is garbage. Meanwhile, you've got a lightsaber fight like Luke and Vader. Or yes, I'll even say it, Obi-Wan and Vader in the first movie. Great, it's not the most visually appealing. You care though. There's been build-up, and there's tension, and reason for you to care. So that every swing, you care if Obi-Wan gets hit, or if Darth Vader gets hit. And then you care when Obi-Wan gives up and sacrifices himself. So then you are at the edge of your seat also screaming, no, along with Luke Skywalker. That's what professional wrestling is. It's like a movie, but actually acted out in front of you. Therefore, it's more like a stage play. But it has to have a story. It has to have characters. And those are the things that matter most. Those are the things that matter first. You can have a not that great worked match, but if it tells a good story, yeah, it's fine. Now, yes, it is. It is possible to have a good story, good characters, but if the match truly just looks like a sloppy mess, then it doesn't matter. I'll admit, there are examples of that. Like the 2 pay-per-view matches Triple H and Scott Steiner had in 2003, like at the Royal Rumble and No Way Out. Great story, great characters, but didn't matter because the matches were fucking sloppy and sucked. And it just was Triple H going over again and kind of burying Steiner. And yes, I would have liked Steiner to be champion. He was entertaining. Another example, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 20. Visually just boring, sucked. The story and build-up was there, but it really didn't matter. But you have to be doing virtually nothing for that to happen, okay? Or you can have a match like Hogan and Andre at WrestleMania 3. Hogan and Warrior at WrestleMania 6. Hogan and Goldberg on that Nitro where, what was it? Where Goldberg won the WCW title. Yeah, they're not the flashiest matches ever. But there's characters you care about, story, build-up, a story told throughout the match. And because of that, they're able to get the crowd involved and invested, which makes it feel all the more special. So that when someone lands a leg drop, a big splash, a spear, a jackhammer, the crowd goes nuts. That's what professional wrestling is. That's what professional wrestling is about. And that's also why many times non-wrestling segments are just as important or could even be more important than actual matches in professional wrestling. Think of the huge-ass long list of moments in professional wrestling history that had nothing to do with a wrestling match. They had nothing to do with the wrestling match. All the Piper's Pit segments, Vince getting his head shaved at WrestleMania 23. Every time Steve Austin drove out a vehicle like a beer truck or Zamboni and destroyed some form of public property. Every time the Ministry of Darkness sacrificed someone. So many others, like DX invading Nitro. The segment, where Vince was on Raw and Shane was on Nitro simultaneous, at the same time. What was that? Was that one segment, the highest rated segment of Raw history, The Rock, This Is Your Life segment? Had nothing to do with the wrestling match. But sometimes those promos, those backstage fights, those character interactions are just as important and can be just as entertaining. I would not trade away any Ministry of Darkness sacrifice or Steve Austin raising hell, drinking beer, and going crazy on everyone around him. I would not trade that away for any stupid, just run-of-the-mill wrestling match. Who gives a fuck? It's pro wrestling. It's not real. It's fake. It's not about actual wrestling. And for all the stupid crybaby fans, look, I get it. When non-wrestling people say wrestling's fake, they're saying it to belittle, and to beat and demean, and basically talk down, basically kind of insult pro wrestling. But when fans like me say it, we're saying it to basically reassure everyone. It's like, yeah, we know it's not real. That's not the point, though. Like, do you get it? We know it's not real, but that doesn't matter to us. Okay? And we're trying to tell other fans not to take who have their priorities in the wrong places, not to take certain things so seriously. Going back to when I have dumb fans trying to tell me that that's only certain types of pro wrestling. I hear even some people in the business who come from the independent scenes trying to be like, the certain wrestling companies say should focus more on the in-ring aspect. Why? When everyone knows the fight's fake, why the fuck should you do that? Why would you do that first? No fan can give me a reason why it makes more sense to focus more on the wrestling rather than the stories and characters. Instead of got dumb fans trying to be like, this is wrestling, we came to see wrestling, not people talking. Yeah, promo segments sometimes can go on too long. You actually need the matches, especially on pay-per-views. They matter much more there. But you need things to break up, the monotony, okay? You can't just have, again, imagine a movie, nothing but action scene, action scene, action scene. It'd be boring, it'd be exhausting, it would all blend together. Another example I could give, maybe it's not that strong, it's like compare it to horror movies. Compare every high spot, flip, kick, 5-star match, whatever, to a really gory horror film, just full of nothing but slashes and blood and guts. No characters though, no reason for you to care at all. Now again, that shit could sometimes still be fun. I mean, again, look, I fucking love Friday the 13th movies, except for the 9th one. I remember Jason Goes to Hell being really fucking terrible. Not even laughably terrible, just terrible. But whatever, you get my point. But then, compare it to a horror movie that actually gives you a reason to care. You could have one maybe with not that much blood and gore, like John Carpenter's Halloween. Works though, because it's got build-up, suspense. Yeah, the characters sure are kind of, dumb teenagers. But there's still reason to care. Or you can have a much gorier movie, like John Carpenter's The Thing, that gives you a reason. And yes, again, I'm relating this all to pro wrestling. Don't forget that. I'm comparing it to matches and stories and characters versus doing nothing but fucking flips and kicks and high spots. You can get a movie like John Carpenter's The Thing. Yeah, everyone remembers those scenes of the disgusting body horror where people's chests open up and their heads sprout spider legs and whatever. Why they remember them though? Because those scenes were few and far between, so it made you anticipate them more, and the movie gave you a reason to care about the characters, and it gave you build-up to heighten the suspense. That's what pro wrestling is. Okay? Have you ever watched, for all the people who are like, there's not enough wrestling, too much of this other stuff. You ever actually sit down and watch an action movie or something and time out the amount of time there is of talking and other stuff versus just action? It's a lot more talking and shit versus just shootouts, right? At least in a good movie, a good action movie, something like Die Hard. Again, Die Hard's a perfect example to relate to this, because it's known as the greatest action movie of all time, yet there are moments in the movie that are considered some of the most memorable moments that aren't even during an action scene. The most famous line in Die Hard is not said during an action scene. John McClane says, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker," as he's whispering into a walkie-talkie while sneaking out of a door to avoid a fight. I can give other examples. First Blood, action-packed movie, but I will argue to anyone, probably the best scene is the scene at the end where Rambo just breaks down and starts crying because it's so emotional. You have a reason to care. Going back to Star Wars, I'll argue that my favorite scene of any Star Wars movie is not a scene where there's starfighters shooting at each other, stormtroopers being shot, lightsabers being swung. My favorite scene, I don't know why, the scene that just connects with me so much, is that scene in Empire Strikes Back where Luke tries to lift the X-Wing out of the swamp, and then he fails, then he basically gives up, and then Yoda does it, tells him, "That is why you fail." That's what pro wrestling is like. Sometimes the most memorable moments and the things that matter most aren't even the wrestling matches. Take a look at when the night Mick Foley won the fucking title for the first time. Probably the most memorable part of it is not only the end of the match, where Austin comes out and gets the biggest pop ever, but the celebration afterwards. Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler freaking out. Foley holding up the title, being held up by DX, running around the ring holding the title. Vince enraged and screaming back at Austin, and Austin flipping him off and throwing his hat at Vince. You know, that part where Foley, you know, picks up the microphone, is like, hey, I gotta tell you, Vince, this feels pretty good. I'd like to dedicate this to my 2 little people at home and say, like, Daddy, you did it! Like, that's memorable. That really gets you. That's something you'll remember. That's what professional wrestling is about. It's not about AJ Styles and Kenny Omega doing a bunch of ridiculous, stupid flips and kicks. That's why a match like Hogan versus Andre at WrestleMania 3 is such an all-time classic. But no one outside of this stupid, smarky vocal minority, led by that retard Dave Meltzer, is going to remember fucking Okada versus Omega in a few years, or Okada versus Jericho in a few years, or wait, Omega versus Jericho. Whatever, who gives a shit? These guys suck. They have to be told time and time and time again that you're just thinking of WWE. You don't know the difference between sports entertainment and pro wrestling. No, asshole! You're the one who doesn't know that they're the same thing. Is that sports entertainment was a term coined by Vince to make what he does sound like it's more than pro wrestling. Sounds like it's bigger and grander. It's not just wrestling, it's sports entertainment. No, Vince, you're pro wrestling. Accept it. Just call them wrestlers. But to all the stupid fans to try to tell me and fans like me, you don't know the difference between pro wrestling and sports entertainment. You're the one who doesn't understand what the hell professional wrestling is because you fucking think it's real. You think it's a real sport. You think it's actually about wrestling. And I will fucking prove it to any fucking retard who wants to stalk me and comment on this video. I will, because I remember this one guy, I think it was I had an argument with him in the comment section of one of my videos. I throw this out there a lot. I'm like, dude, look up the definition of pro wrestling. Look up professional wrestling on the internet. Just Google it. And after ignoring that for a while, he blatantly lied and said, "Oh, dude, it's not what you're saying." I'm like, so really, it's not? Let me prove you wrong, you stupid basement-dwelling brony. Let's go to the fucking internet right now. All right, everyone, here we go. Gonna look up the definition of pro wrestling on the internet. That way, any stupid fanboy who tries to tell me, any stupid indie, ROH, New Japan, whatever, anything else I'm failing to name, fanboy who wants to sit there and tell me like, oh, it's wrestling, we want wrestling or whatever. I'm going to show them once and for all that it's not about pro wrestling, it's about, It's about stories and characters, and professional wrestling is not a fucking sport. Alright. Here we go. Alright. Here we go. Definition of pro wrestling. Okay? Pro wrestling features many performers whose popularity stems from more than just their in-ring skills. Do you get it? More than just their in-ring skills. Because it's not a goddamn sport. It's about more than just what happens in the ring. It's about more than just the fights that happen in the ring. It's about more than, guys grappling and doing fucking fake high spots. Oh, when they jump off the turnbuckle, that ain't fake. You know what the hell I mean, god damn it. Okay, here, let's look at this. Professional wrestling is a performance art in which combines athletics with theatrical performance. That's what I mean. I'm not sure if I already said it because I had to redo the main part of this video, so I don't know if I said it before or after this little cutaway part, but that's what I mean. Theatrical performance. It's like a movie, or if anything, more like a stage play. It's like a stage play, but with more stunts and athletics. That's what it is. Takes the form of events held by touring companies which mimic a title match combat sport. Mimic. That's what I mean. When fans like me say it's fake or not real, that's what we mean. What's going on? The fights are not actual fights. Okay? And even if you want to be one of those crybaby fans who sits there and says, what is it? It's not fake. It's scripted. It's predetermined. Same fucking shit. It means the same thing. Okay, now you're probably thinking, okay, this is Wikipedia. Anyone can edit this. There's a reason why they tell you not to use Wikipedia when you're doing a book report in school or whatever. Okay, fine. Let's go to something else. Okay, maybe not Urban Dictionary, although probably should. You'll learn a lot of good things from Urban Dictionary. All right, what about this one here? Type of entertainment in which people pretend to wrestle in a way that looks violent. Okay, this probably doesn't look like the best and most official definition, but see what I mean there? Pretend. It's not real. It's not a sport. Name me one other goddamn sport where the people are pretending to do the, whatever the activity is. Alright, here's one. An entertainment business characterized by the performance of choreographed wrestling matches with a predetermined outcome. And see what I mean choreographed, okay? I know some of you probably thinking like, well, you said in your one video, I forget which one, it's like, guys like AJ Styles have matches that look too choreographed. It's because their matches look so blatantly and obviously choreographed to the point where they don't look like fights or wrestling matches. They look more like dancing. Like literally. Going back to that, whenever I watch a match from a guy like an AJ Styles or one of these fucking, like, Okada Omega matches or some Finn Balor or Sami Zayn or Nakamura match, there was this commercial I saw, like, a few months back. I think I remember specifically seeing it around, like, Thanksgiving. But it played a little after that. I think it's for like these wireless headphones. There's this one broad walking down the street, and she's dancing, and then she bumps into this guy and has like an immediate orgasm looking at him, and she puts one earbud in his other ear, and all of a sudden they're like transported into this magical nighttime snowy world where no one else is around, and they're dancing, and like she's running, and the guy picks her up and spins her around. That's what these, like, fucking AJ Styles Finn Balor matches look like. That's what I mean when I say, like, their matches look so blatantly choreographed. Whenever I watch, like, a Stone Cold or Hogan match, it looks and feels more like a fucking fight or wrestling match. What's the other one here? A theatrical presentation of a choreographed wrestling match is part of the professional wrestling business. Again, theatrical presentation. They're not athletes. They're more like glorified stuntmen. More like stuntmen who have to have more range in acting. Okay, and again, when I say they're not athletes, that's not an insult. In my opinion, good professional wrestlers like Stone Cold or The Rock or whatever are way better and more entertaining. Way more awesome people than actual fucking athletes. Okay, there. Do you see what the hell I am talking about? Okay, I just looked up multiple definitions on the internet. So you can't just say there and be like, oh, you just looked up Wikipedia or whatever. No, I looked up multiple goddamn sites with definitions. All that basically prove what I've been saying right. So if any other fucking retard like this one idiot who commented on one of my videos and tried so hard to desperately tell me that it's like, oh, you're just talking about American promotions or the American style of pro wrestling. Just looked it up. There's the fucking definition. Maybe it's the shit you like that doesn't understand what the hell professional wrestling is. Maybe it's you who doesn't know what the hell professional wrestling is. Okay, I just looked at the definition. It's completely irrefutable now. So, whatever, back to the main part of the video. So, was I right? Or was I right, huh? There it was. The definition of pro wrestling, multiple definitions, all telling you about how it's about a theatrical performance. It's about the characters. It's not an actual sport. It mimics a combat sport. There is a point in this video I am redoing now that I had to cut out that had to do with another dumb AJ Styles fan that I got into an argument with. Again, what would you know? A dumb AJ Styles fan. I got into a major flame war with this guy, and but basically, it kind of related to this, but not entirely. I'll bring it up, though, in my let's just say in my next video, because it'll be more relevant there. But the point is, one of the things that the conversation eventually moved to, it moved from how this guy can't defend AJ Styles. You know, like how the one I think I mentioned in YWC/IWC sucks part whatever, how I mentioned like there was this New Japan Strong Style fanboy who couldn't defend like New Japan, and you know it basically is a perfect example of how Smarks can actually defend their side. Well, it came to they had to kind of do with the same thing with this guy also. He couldn't give a reason as to why AJ Styles was any good. So at one point he randomly threw Hogan under the bus, and then the conversation somehow moved to whether or not professional wrestling is a sport. And of course, this crybaby retard really believed that professional wrestling is a sport. Which it's not. It's not. And to prove it, let's go back to the internet. Alright everyone, I'm back to the trusty old internet. Alright, we're going to be looking up the definition of the word sport. Alright, so, give me 1 second. Here we go. Sport. Okay? Competitive physical activity or games in which blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. Here's the main part I want to go to. Definition. Uses the following criteria to determine that a sport should have an element... here we go. Sorry about the camera work. Have an element of competition. An element of competition. There is no, I repeat, no competition in professional wrestling because the two or more participants have agreed on the outcome. They are not actually competing. God, all I can think of is the fanboy I kept talking about that I was going to go into in the original part of this video I said I cut. He had this dumb excuse. I'll tell you this at least. He had this dumb excuse of like, well, the wrestlers have to compete with each other to see who does better or something. It's like, yeah, because again, you know, another fan who knows what the wrestlers are thinking, who knows who works hard and what goes on backstage, God, I can't stand these fans who act like they know it all. Okay, what else? Be in no way harmful to any living creature. I guess that hunting can't be a sport. Not rely on equipment provided by a single supplier. Not rely on luck. Okay. But you see, the first one they put, the first one basically proves my point right, and every single one of you stupid, retarded, indie, ROH, New Japan, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega loving retards wrong. Whatever the hell you want to call you dumb, or anyone else wants to call you dumb fans, hardcore fans, the IWC, the YWC, Smarks, whatever, you know who I'm talking about. This fucking further proves you wrong. It's not a goddamn sport, okay? It's not a professional wrestling. Mimics a sport. In the fiction, the kayfabe or whatever, it's a sport, and the characters are athletes, but the show itself, not a sport. Like, the actual form of entertainment itself is not a sport. You're not watching a wrestling show. It's like you're watching a show about a wrestling show. See? Now, was I right? Or was I right? It's not a sport. It mimics a sport. But it's not a real sport. It doesn't matter if it's American, Mexican, Japanese style of wrestling. It doesn't matter if it's WWE, WCW, ECW, NWA, AWA, TNA, Lucha Underground, New Japan, Big Japan, All Japan, or whatever, or ROH, or whatever. They're not actual sporting events. Okay? Don't sit there and try to give a dumb excuse like, well, WWE gets covered by ESPN. Great! ESPN also has poker from what I've heard. Which, A, In general, if you're going to tell me that poker is, if you're going to then tell me that poker is a sport, then by God, there's no helping you. But also, B, going back to the definition we just looked at, the fourth thing I believe said that a sport can't rely on, can't heavily rely on luck, which many card games like poker do. But ESPN, the sports channel, whatever, shows poker, which is not a sport. And besides, a sport channel showing something that has nothing to do with, that's not a sport? It's not the first time a channel that's primarily supposed to be dedicated to one thing shows something that has nothing to do with what it's supposed to be dedicated to. How many shows has MTV had that have nothing to do with music? I rest my case. My God. Okay? Seriously. It's not real. It's not a sport. You cannot name me one goddamn sport that has spoilers. That can have spoilers. For Christ's sakes, you cannot name me one other sporting event. Name me any sporting event that has weddings, bikini contests, fictional movie characters that somehow interfere in matches. Does anyone remember when WCW had RoboCop and Chucky? You cannot name me any other sport that has crucifixions, people being abducted by ninjas, people wrestling blow-up dolls, people wrestling little girls, or people having matches where the objective is to literally make out with the other person. Name me one other sport that has this type of shit. And again, to the people that are going to try to say you're just thinking of American wrestling or just WWE, more than half that list was not WWF/WWE related. Okay? ECW had crucifixions first. People being abducted by ninjas, that was TNA. The last three things I mentioned were New Japan. Or, I don't know if the making out one was New Japan, but, you know, it was, that shit was from Japanese wrestling. You know the type of shit that fans claim is for the real hardcore wrestling fans who actually appreciate actual wrestling? See, that's the thing. All these stupid fans try to tell me that over in Japan, it's treated more like a real sport. Again, A, they still can never tell me, though, why it would make sense to focus more on the wrestling when it's not real. But B, I again question even if in Japan, if it is treated more like an actual sport. Because again, you've got Kenny Omega wrestling a little girl, you've got some dude fighting a blow-up doll and apparently losing, and then you've got, what was his name, Okada or something, having some type of like make-out match or something? I really hope I'm not missing anything, because I swear I'm always missing something in a video, and then I've always got to begin the next video going like, here's what I forgot about my last video. But yeah, I hope I've been able to prove to everyone, help them understand that professional wrestling is not actually about wrestling, and that it's not a real sport. That is not an insult to any professional wrestler, or the professional wrestling business. I hate when these dumb fans try to tell you, it's like, you wouldn't say that to a Stu Hart or AJ Styles, or go to a wrestling school, they'll break your fucking arm. So you're telling me that if I went up to a wrestling teacher, if I went up to like Stu Hart or something and said to these motherfuckers, no, they're not motherfuckers, sorry. But like, if I went up to a wrestling teacher like Stu Hart or something, like, alright, correct me if I'm wrong. The business you're in is about stories and characters, and eliciting an emotion and reaction from the audience. I forgot to say that this whole time too. Eliciting an emotion and reaction from the audience. That's what matters. You know, that's what your business is about, right? It's not about actually having a real fight or wrestling match. That's not real. What it really is about is getting the fans invested in telling a story, right? Really, they'd be pissed at me? They fucking get me in an armbar and break my arm? You know how many stupid fans probably wouldn't say any of the shit they say over the internet to Roman Reigns themselves? Because Roman Reigns would probably beat the shit out of them. He'd probably Superman punch them. Crybaby hypocrites. But But am I right? Yeah, according to these fans, any type of profession then that doesn't matter if it's scripted, planned, whatever, that involves some type of physical stress is like, or just because you do it voluntarily or whatever means it's, according to them, it's a sport. So according to these assholes, the guys from Jackass are athletes. Johnny Knoxville, Wee Man, Ryan Dunn, Bam Margera, Steve-O. According to these assholes, they're all athletes. I think they've had some sports-related stunts. I can think of like I got a football one in my head. So according to these stupid smarks, the Jackass crew are athletes. None of this is meant to be an insult and should not be taken as an insult to actual pro wrestlers and wrestlers in the professional wrestling industry itself. But it's not a sport. It's not actually about wrestling. And the only wrestlers you can consider real athletes are ones who had actually, played real sports or did something like that. Sorry, not sorry, stupid fans. Roman Reigns is more of an athlete than AJ Styles because Roman Reigns was a real football player. Same goes for The Rock. Same goes for Goldberg. It doesn't just have to be football though. Kurt Angle was a real athlete because he was an actual Olympic wrestler. Brock Lesnar is a real athlete because he was an actual amateur wrestler and MMA fighter. Ken Shamrock, yeah, he's a real athlete. He was an actual MMA fighter. That doesn't automatically make someone good though, okay? Mark Merrow was an actual boxer, so in a sense he was a real athlete. Nobody gives a shit about Mark Merrow though. He's one of the most irrelevant intercontinental champions in history. Oh no, but I'm probably just gonna get one of those stupid fanboys who stalks me on my videos, who always wants to pick a fight with me, even though I never want to talk to them again. And I'm just gonna be accused of being a WWE mark. I'm just gonna be accused of being some blinded, biased WWE fan. Never mind the fact that I have a video, though, on this channel where I say the whole roster sucks. But, I'm just a blinded, biased WWE mark. Because, why actually argue or even stop and think about what I said? No, you can just insult me like a fucking crybaby. Because that's what these fans do. Instead of stopping to actually think about what I've said, that's it. I'm just going to comments, fucking WWE mark, you don't know nothing about wrestling, you're not a real fan. Maybe you're not a real fan. Maybe instead of crying and shitting your pants like a child every time someone says wrestling is fake, how about you own up to it and give a more intelligent response back? You know what? One more thing before I go. Here's how you can easily, a much better video that would get this. If you look up, just type in the YouTube, wrestling isn't wrestling. It should be the first result. It's this humorous video that basically explains what professional wrestling really is. Okay? Before anyone tries to sit there and tell me, that video was just about WWE. The video is called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, not WWE Isn't Wrestling. The reason the video uses WWE is because that's the most common and easy thing for people to recognize when it comes to wrestling. Look that video up. It's really funny. Trust me, it's worth your time, especially if you're a wrestling fan. And it pretty much tells you about what makes pro wrestling really good. For God's sakes, all these dumb fans who try to be like, it's real, and it's actually sport. What the fuck was the point of the brawl for all then? Huh? Again, not trying to say that was a good idea. That was a very dumb idea. Easily one of the stupidest things of the Attitude Era. But again, what was the point of the brawl for all then, huh? If wrestling is real, what was the point of the brawl for all? I want to get this out of the way. I'm not saying you have to if you just have a good personality and you can talk in the mic, but you absolutely can't do anything in the ring. I'm not saying that then that's okay. You're not a good professional wrestling then either. You have to be able to do something in the ring. Hogan could do something in the ring. Kevin Nash could do something in the ring. You get my point. But it's not what's most important. It's, okay, I know I've kind of very much it sounds like I'm really underselling, match quality and the actual wrestling. Let me say this before I go. It does serve a purpose, and it does have an importance in pro wrestling. Because in a sense, yes, the matches are truly the things you come to see, but they do not matter without a storyline and characters. And it doesn't have to be this great worked match or whatever to be a good match. That's why more wrestling is not the solution to the WWE's problem or just professional wrestling in general. Okay? Getting guys who are better in the ring, technically, and who could do all these high-flying flips and kicks is not the solution. Okay? So, in-ring quality, match quality, the wrestling does serve a purpose. It does matter, but only to an extent. It is nowhere near equal in how much it matters to characters and stories and things that actually build up to matches, that make matches more important, thereby make them better. Yes, you have to be able to do something in the ring, but you don't have to do all that much. I just know I'm forgetting something. It's just, like, again, these dumb fans and their logic. They say shit like, well, people actually get hurt in professional wrestling. They actually say this shit. They say, like, people actually get hurt in pro wrestling. They voluntarily put their bodies on the line. That means it's both real and a sport. Really? So you have to voluntarily put yourself through some type of harm, and it's both real and a sport. Okay, wait. So the sport aspect. So if someone is in a BDSM porno, some type of, again, porn where they're chained, tied up, gagged, and they're whipped and smacked, that's a sport according to these fans. Anytime, if there's some type of femdom video with a guy chained to the wall naked, getting repeatedly kicked in the balls, that's a sport according to these fans. There are many other professions in the world that are physically draining and where there's a chance of injury or even death does not make them sports. I mean, for Christ. Oh, here's another one. Okay, again, by the logic of these fans, I swear to God, by the logic of these fans, because it's painful and you voluntarily put yourself through it. Okay? Giving birth is a sport, apparently. It's painful, and apparently you could even die a woman could die from doing it. Doesn't make giving birth a fucking sport. Anyway, I think I've ranted long enough, and I am terribly sorry if this video was gone on like 50 minutes or so. I swear to God I'll never make a video that long again. I'll have other long rants in the future, sure, but I'll hopefully never have a video that goes on this long again. Be sure to check out Lord of Darkness and Red Wolf 316, links in the description. Make sure to follow me or friend me or whatever on MySpace. I'm out of here. Adios, everybody.